This story begins with a young aerospace engineer, Leonard Malin, and his wife, Diane. Diane's father owned a home in the Hollywood Hills right off of Mulholland Drive. He also owned the parcel of land next door to his home, which he gifted to the young couple. Leonard Malin wanted to build a home on the site, but this proved very difficult because the hillside parcel had a slope of 45 degrees. Usually, in order to build on such a sloping hillside, a flat platform is created by shaping and leveling the mountainside. But if you wanted a home that was a mere 30 feet from the front to the back, with 10 feet of level ground in the front of and rear of the structure, you'd have to have a 50-foot leveled platform. This would require a 50-foot tall retaining wall just 10 feet from the rear of the structure. This would be prohibitively expensive and not a very pleasing combination. And a sheer 50-foot tall wall behind the house next to a hillside is a great safety hazard. Another way to build a home on such a steep hillside would be to build a steel support framework for the structure. But this also would be prohibitively costly. But Leonard Malin was determined to build his new home. And in 1959, he hired the famed architect John Lautner for the task. John Lautner was born in 1911. He was an apprentice of Frank Lloyd Wright and worked and studied under Wright from 1933 until 1939. As I mentioned, the traditional methods of building a home on such a steep hillside were prohibitively expensive for the Malins. But Lautner came up with an ingenious and fantastic proposal. A one-story, 60-foot wide octagon with 2,200 square feet of living space. The house would sit atop a 30-foot tall, 5-foot wide concrete column that rests on a 20-foot wide, 3-foot thick concrete pedestal that's buried deep below ground level, supported by bedrock. But there was a problem. The design was still too costly. The Malins had $80,000 to build their home, but it would take $140,000 to build this flying saucer-like design. And $140,000 in 1959 was a lot of money. That would translate to $1.5 million in 2024. So Leonard Malin decided to find sponsors to join him in his dream. He was able to barter with Southern California Gas Company and a company called Chemsphere to pick up the difference. Chemsphere provided the resins and experimental coatings for the house, and Southern California Gas provided appliances as well as the heating and cooling for the structure. Both companies were compensated by being allowed to use the unique house in advertising materials. And when Leonard Malin approached Chemsphere as a sponsor, he suggested the name Chemisphere for the house because it shared its first syllable with Chemsphere. The house was stunning, and so the structure caught the eye of Hollywood. The house was featured in the Outer Limits TV series in an episode entitled The Duplicate Man. This can be viewed on YouTube. The home was also featured in the 1984 Brian De Palma film Body Double. And John Lautner created many fantastic homes that found their way to film. The Garcia House, featured in Lethal Weapon 2. The Elrod House, featured in the Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. The Shears Goldstein House, featured in Bandits and The Big Lebowski. Lautner's creations also included Bob Hope's Palm Springs house and many others, his homes often integrating the natural surrounding world into his creations. a concept known as organic architecture. The Chemisphere is located at 7776 Torreson Drive, Los Angeles, California. Access to the home is gained by a 45-degree single-car inclined elevator, another fantastic feature of the residence. In this photo, you can see the inclined elevator tracks and the adjacent steps. The Malins and their 4 children lived in the Chemisphere until 1972, when Leonard Malin retired from engineering, sold the iconic home, and moved his family to Yucca Valley, California. The current owner of the house is Benedict Taschen, a publisher and art collector who purchased the property in 1998. He refurbished and restored the house. Hello everybody. It's April the 1st, 2024, and I'm right here on the Hollywood Hills at the corner of Flynn Ranch Road, Torreson Place, and Torreson Drive. Got a little traffic going by here. And right up the hill, in the center of the view, is the Chemisphere. I grew up in North Hollywood, about 2 miles from this location. And when I was about 10 years old, I actually hiked up here to check out the Chemisphere. Of course, back then we just called it the Flying Saucer House. And I went up and checked out the inclined elevator for myself. And what prompted me to do this video on the Chemisphere is the fact that I was here when I did my video on the Lancashire Monument. I didn't realize or give it any thought that right around the corner was where the Chemisphere was. But I stumbled upon it when making that video. This is the best view you will get of the Chemisphere from the road. We'll come down this way. The road that car just turned onto is a private road. And it serves several addresses up in this area. And here's the mailbox for the Chemisphere. 7776 Torreson Drive. I'm not sure, but I think the house right down here is the house that belonged to Diane Malin's parents. Before Benedict Taschen purchased the Chemisphere in 1998, it had sat on the market for over 10 years as a rental property. The home's unique design made it difficult to sell. The home was rented out for parties and corporate functions. Leonard Malin was directly involved in the building of the Chemisphere. He took an 18-month leave of absence from his job as an aerospace engineer and devoted his engineering talents to the builder, John Lautner. In 2004, the Chemisphere was designated Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument 785. I'd like to thank Mary Ann Malin Rollison for sharing family photographs with me and memories of her childhood home.